We're live. Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Good afternoon and good evening. This is Dr. Deborah Jenkins, your host for Black Talk Platform, and we are here tonight on our on the 2nd of February, which we are bringing in Black History Month in right fashion, talking about our health and wellness. This is part two of a conversation we began back in December, and I'm so happy to have my guest here with me tonight, Minister Rodriguez. Well, let me say it in the order that you see us. Chaka Phaire, he is a licensed social worker, and we are happy to have him back to talk to us around self-care and our mental wellness, and Minister Yoram Rodriguez, who's going to talk to us about our physical well-being, and the two will overlap throughout this conversation. So we are happy to have them back for the second installation about our health and wellness, and I'm so happy to have you both. Why don't you introduce yourselves in the way that you prefer to be introduced, and welcome to Black Talk Platform again. Chaka.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Chaka Phaire. I'm a clinical social worker. I am really excited to be here today. I'm looking to provide some practical solutions to some of the things that are going on at this point in time in terms of mental health, in terms of COVID, and other things that we are facing at this time.
Excellent. Minister Rodriguez.
Good evening, everyone, and God bless. I'm just here to just share my experiences, how I went through a whole transformation process for myself. Started out at 272 pounds when I started my transformation, and I'm down to 225 now. So this is in the course of 2 years. So I'm just willing to, I'm just here to share the wealth. That's it.
That's incredible, and we want the wealth. We want the wealth. We want to hear from your perspective. The reason why, just to let the audience know, the reason why I asked two strong Black men to do this show about our health and wellness is because I do believe in the strong Black leadership of the family, Black male leadership. And as the father goes, often, and most people think it's as the mother goes, but it's really as the father goes, how he impacts his family's life is how the health of the family is seen to the world, and how the children and the wives and the girlfriends, however the family is configured, how it plays out in society. And so I honor Black men. This is Black History Month. So to you two, you are making history in the work that you do, and we are honoring you here at Black Talk Platform. So thank you again. Let's sort of jump on into it. You started talking about COVID and self-care and things that we can do to just to stay up. There is so much information out there coming at us from all different directions. What I've noticed on Chaka is that people seem to be more interested in getting the vaccine than they are with being consistent in taking care of themselves with the social distancing, continuing to wear the mask, and reducing our footprint. So with this incredible storm that we had from Sunday, and in the Bronx it's still snowing, people's appointments for their vaccines were canceled. I can only imagine the tailspin that some of them are in. Can you start us off talking about that and what we can do or what we can suggest to people to bring them back to a place of balance?
Sure. Well, first off, I want to say thank you for inviting me to your show once again, and seeing Minister Rodriguez. Happy to do that as well. But COVID has really unlocked and unleashed so many things that were in plain sight before. It has really exacerbated a lot of things. So some of the things that we are seeing is we're seeing an increase in anxiety, we're seeing an increase in depression, but we're also seeing loss. And that loss is coming to us through several different ways. We're seeing loss being physical loss because we're actually losing people. So we're dealing with loss and bereavement, but we're also dealing with the loss of our former lifestyles, our ways of interacting, our ways of enjoying the arts, our ways of interacting, vacations, travel, all of the things that we normally do in order for us to decompress has basically been taken away from us at this time. So I can only imagine how each of the people are feeling when they're thinking about getting this vaccine and they figure that now there is going to be something that they can sink their teeth into, because there's a lot of vagueness, a lot of uncertainty in terms of how this COVID pandemic is going to play out, period. So some people believe that by them getting the vaccine, that adds some sort of finality and something that they can believe in and help to reassure them that things are going to be okay. So for this situation now to be canceled is probably like the rug being pulled from underneath people's feet, and it is probably scathing other wounds that were present before. So I think that at this point, what we have to do is we have to remember that we have to take care of ourselves. We have to find other ways to still yet connect. I was just talking about the siege on the Capitol. And the siege on the Capitol a few weeks ago brought about so many different emotions and so many people. And normally there would be that outlet of either going to the beauty salon or the barber shop or standing on the corner or some other way that we would be able to talk about these things and get and make sense of exactly what it is that we're seeing and reality test that with other people to see exactly how they feel. COVID has taken that from us, but as it has taken it from us, we also have to be very intentional about finding other ways to connect. Now, it's not going to be exactly the way we connected before, but we have to find some sort of artificial way to still do so. So if that means us getting on a Zoom call and with some of our friends and just having some sort of entertainment there, one thing that we may be able to do is look at some recipes where we send either the recipes or the ingredients to everyone's house to simulate the commonality that we are still together despite the fact that we are apart. There are so many different suggestions. Another thing is that we have the opportunity now to, if we can't necessarily go outside, we can certainly go inside. And what I mean by that is we can tap into our spiritual beliefs. We can tap into mindfulness, yoga, meditation, all of these different things that we can use as tools to try to reassure us and to let us feel some sort of semblance of normalcy. The reason why we face anxiety at this point in time is because this is an unknown situation. So being that it's an unknown situation, it brings to light other times where things were not known to us and they did not skew in our favor. So when we see this situation, that's exactly what it reminds us of, is situations that did not skew in our favor, and it brings about a certain amount of nervousness. So one of the ways that we can reclaim those things is by doing some things that we know. So what we have to do is we have to bring the known to the unknown. So this is an unknown situation. So let's bring some of the things that would comfort us in our lives prior to this. If we think about it as a child, I know the Peanuts reference with Linus in his blanket. Linus brought his blanket everywhere he went, not necessarily because his blanket would change anything, but because it was security. It represented security. It represented something that he can hold on to and something that he can bring into his new situation and feel comforted by something from the old. We have to do that same thing at this point.
I love that. I love that. That was really good. And a lot of us in this audience, we can identify with the whole Linus and his blanket thing. And I'm trying to write down notes because you guys bring so many gems. But you said bring the known to the unknown, and I think that's so important. And create these artificial environments through Zooms and platforms where we can connect, so that we can discuss things such as the vaccines being delayed and the appointments being delayed, the attack in Washington, whatever's bothering us, because I love the fact that you sort of honed in on when we have lost, we just sort of think about all the things we've lost at the same time, and it affects us adversely. Thank you so much for getting us started with that. So if we could just segue from that, because you actually sort of spoke about why a lot of what Minister Rodriguez is probably going to talk about, our physical being and our physical health. You were talking about engaging in mindfulness, yoga, meditation, and things like that. Minister Rodriguez, you opened up talking about your story, how you went from 272, and I think I wrote down the second number incorrectly, 227. What did you say?
25, 225.
220. Look, say,
Yeah.
don't give me 2 extra pounds. Don't do it.
And I've been intentionally maintaining that because I don't believe in rapid weight loss. Like, a lot of people get into diets and just to get the rapid weight loss, whether it's going on a vacation, trying to fit into a wedding dress or some dress for a party or something like that. I think that it's a marathon,
Right.
it's not a sprint. So I've been
that last time.
I've been doing it gradually, so I've been intentionally maintaining this weight, and when it starts to get warmer and I can get out more, I'm planning on even getting lower. My ideal weight is to get down to 205. That's what that's my goal, to get down to 205. I feel that's a healthy weight for me.
But you've done incredible work. You said in under 2 years or 2 years.
Yeah, about 2 years. Yeah.
So how did you get there? Tell everybody, because everybody wants to lose a little something.
I mean, yeah. First, I think that you have to understand food. Like there's a real understanding that's needed for food, because there's this connection that we have with food. Certain events that we have. Thanksgiving. Holiday season. All this connection to food, like macaroni and cheese, and ham, and all this stuff that don't do us no good. And we have these connections to it. And if we understand these connections, we can begin to make some changes. Because like if one of the suggestions that I was thinking about, and I've spoken about this before, is that I think that especially as the Black community is involved, we need to give up dairy. Dairy is one of the main things. I've said this before. Dairy is one of the main things that we need to give up. Dairy, cheese, cheese, milk. These things we know that 78. I've said this statistic before, and I'm going to sound like a broken record because I want to hammer this point home. 78% of African Americans are lactose intolerant. Lactose intolerant. It's not good for us. But yet and still, the Food and Drug Administration, even in our schools, they tell us that dairy is good for our bones. There's tons of research that debunks that. But so we take these things in, and it's not good for us. It's not good for us physically. And then when I talk about food connection, in cheese, there's something called casomorphins. I mentioned this before. It has a dopamine effect, like a small amount of a dopamine effect on our brain, the same way as a drug would, narcotic would. It has a small stimulation to our brain. So when you start hearing people talking about, I'm not giving up my cheese, I can't give up my cheese, it is an addictive effect. Now, the food industry has, and I was just talking to my son about this earlier. The food industry has studied the human anatomy to understand how foods and the combination of foods have the right effect on our brain activity. They understand if they put this amount of sugar with this amount of fat, the type of effect that it's going to have on our brain. So the same way with cheese, they've re-engineered cheese to make it addictive. So when you say that I want to give up, I can't give up my cheese, this is not about a willpower thing. This is really about how this is scientific. This is based on scientific study that they've made cheese disaddictive. And this is, and so when you just look at cheese, you just look at the ingredients and the caloric breakdown of cheese. The majority of it is sodium. and after sodium is fat. That's it. Sodium and fat. That's it. The effect that it has on the arteries, has on the brain, and on our overall health is debilitating. So, and then and then when you started talking about the vaccine, I look at this whole COVID situation, and when it comes to our community, in the same way that we could look at the political arena, COVID is Donald Trump, right? In the sense that we knew, right, when we knew that there were underlying issues going on in our communities, systemic racism, and the whole nine. We knew that there was issues in the Republican Party. We knew how they handled Barack Obama. All these things was there.
Right.
So what COVID do? What Donald Trump did? He exacerbated it. He was able to bring all of these people out, and it made it normal. It made it okay for people to start expressing these racist attitudes. So when we look at COVID and we look at how it exacerbates underlying symptoms that we have, underlying issues that we have, the diabetes, the heart disease, it exacerbates it. So when you catch COVID, it exacerbates all the underlying issues that you have. Now the vaccine is Biden. Right? The vaccine is something that we can look at that can help, but it's not the cure. It's not the end or be all, right? So when we look at COVID and how it affects pre-existing conditions, these pre-existing conditions that it exacerbates, such as diabetes, such as heart disease, are issues that affect the Black community the most, right? So that means that we cannot rely on the vaccine. We have to take responsibility for our own health, right? We have to start reversing these underlying or pre-existing conditions. And we can't rely on a vaccine the same way that we can't rely on Biden. He can be a help, but he is not going to be the savior or the rescuer of us. We have to take the bull by the horns, and we have to take responsibility for our own health. We have to.
Wow. So, I was really trying to keep Deborah at bay tonight with the political references. I was really trying to. But actually, Chaka, it's your fault because, you were just talking about how you were talking about the insurrection. And Minister Rodriguez just drove it on home with that analogy between Trump and Biden, the coronavirus and COVID, as opposed to the vaccine. But you really, really make a good point. I'm going to tell the audience how you had posted something, and those who were not here last month when we were here, Minister Rodriguez had taken his daughter out. I don't know if it was your daughter. I think it was your daughter. I know it was a vegan lunch or something. I was having a daddy-daughter day.
Yeah. And
something made me respond to, it might not have been that post, but I responded to Minister Rodriguez by saying, good evening, Minister or Reverend Horton and Tony. Tony Lindsay was on Sunday with me. Chaka, I hope y'all saw that. It's still up. It's the show about the investing. Wow, lots of stuff there. The butter. It was something that Minister Rodriguez posted, and I was like, I can't give up my butter. Right. So I said I cannot give up my butter, and that was what he was just talking to us about with breaking up with dairy. We have to. So he was like, I guess he didn't want to just beat me up in public, which would have been fine. And I don't think it was beating up. This is a young man who has experienced a life-changing situation, and he's just trying to help the rest of us. And I'm going to affirm what he just said about we could have the virus. We can, the virus can be something that we have to deal with, as well as the vaccine may help to some degree. But it's not going to change us if we don't change us. 2 weeks ago, I was in a training, and a world-renowned immunologist who works at Columbia, he's African American. He was saying, in regards to the vaccine, in regards to contracting this virus, we are not dying. As they keep telling us, Blacks and Latinos are dying at higher rates than everybody else. He said we are not dying from the virus. We are dying because of our underlying medical conditions. He said, for instance, I have hypertension. When we're all on lockdown, so to, essentially, right? And you cannot go to the hospital if your blood pressure rises really high, then once you have to go because now you've been out there trying to get there and your blood pressure is an issue, but you come in with COVID as the primary reason you're there, you're going to be treated like the emergency room. And you probably, as a clinician, you might know this to be true. You're going to be treated for that COVID and not the underlying conditions. They're going to treat anything that appears to be COVID like an emergency room situation. So you could be in stage 4 cancer and go to the emergency room because you have a gash on your head. Guess what they're going to treat you for? The gash on your head, not the stage 4 cancer. So we have to attack this thing from within. We've got to just want to do better. We want to be healthier. I shared that I went vegan back in October, and I was happy when you came on. Yes, and you've been helpful. You have been helpful because he was clapping. Minister Rodriguez was clapping because he doesn't realize the impact, and that's why we have to have these type of shows. If people didn't know you before December, now they know that you are 2 men that they can go to talk about or talk or to hear from you regarding wellness and health in our families and in our community, because you're giving us the real pill, that one that we don't want to take because it's so big, it's hard to swallow. That's okay. We need it. If we want to continue to live, if we want to see our children, if we want to see their children, we've got to be able to break up with food. We have a thing with food. It's our buddy, it's our girlfriend, it's our boyfriend. When I first went vegan, though, I have to tell you, it was all soul food vegan. All soul food vegan. And last month you said everything doesn't have to be like what we used to have. We can eat salad. So he was talking about, Minister Rodriguez posted about eating a salad. He said, don't get a little salad. You have to get a large enough salad so you can still get enough nutrients, So these are practical things that these men are sharing with us. And it's not that the information isn't out there, but I'd rather hear it from brothers doing the work and out there speaking the speech, So Chaka, with all that Minister Rodriguez just shared with us, understanding even how he was talking about how the cheese has an effect. There was an episode of The Simpsons some years ago, it's been on like forever, where they talked about what you just said about how the cheese has a dopamine, or is that right? Dopamine effect on us. It's addictive, sort of. They put just enough of the sugar and the cheese product to keep us wanting more. Most people will tell you, I can't go vegan, I can't do it because I love cheese too much. How do we deal with this from a psychological perspective in order to become healthier, Chaka?
Well, I think one of the ways that we have to look at it is we can't look at it as what it was. So, for example, and this is my personal bias with the vegan industry, is that it appears that it's almost like a parallel universe. So if you were eating burgers before, now you can have a vegan burger. But if you go into it with that mindset, no matter how much you say I'm eating a vegan burger, it looks just like what you used to eat before. So that taste is still in your mouth. So when you go to taste it, you're still expecting to taste what you used to have before. So we have to divorce ourselves from the old ideology of what it was that we were eating before. So even if they quote unquote call it a vegan burger, you have to look at it as something completely different, or your taste buds are going to anticipate what you ate before. You have to look at this as a brand new entity and something now that you can learn to enjoy, just like when you were first introduced to some of your favorite foods. There came a point where someone had to introduce this to you because you've never had it. So keep that same amount of open-mindedness when it comes to vegan products, but also disassociate the name of the vegan products from what it was that you used to eat before.
Yeah.
Wow. Let me tell y'all before you come back, Minister, what people are saying in the comments. Oh my goodness. Why do I have to be y'all's test subject tonight? I mean, really. But that's okay. Y'all get me right. You're trying to get me right. You're just getting a whole lot of praise over here, guys, in the comments. Salt and seasoning. Well, Tony, look, we all black here. We all know we want the real seasoned stuff, but we do have to start doing it better, right? We doing it a little less.
Absolutely.
I mean, for popcorn, I eat guys, tell me what's the name of my popcorn? Skinny Pop. It has far less salt. And I eat that, but I don't eat more than one little serving. Alima said, and I love this. She said, truth, and sometimes our connection to food is connected to trauma. Oh my goodness, absolutely. Absolutely. Juanita, my sister, hey Juanita, and everyone actually, welcome everybody. She said, excellent. My fruits have increased, citrus and less milk, more salads and
No milk.
fruit larger, less dressing. She said, thanks, Minister Rodriguez. She must have heard you last month too, because you guys are impactful. So clearly we're gonna have to bring y'all back again. My sister's like, no barbecue tofu. But let me just hone in on what you just said, Chaka. So I'm not a meat person. I never was a meat person. My issue when I gave up pork after watching, and I said this before, after watching What the Health. But I'm eating a biblical diet now, so I just don't eat pork. I don't eat shrimp. I don't eat those things that the Bible says we shouldn't eat. And this is not for a discussion, everybody. That's just how Deborah does it, okay? So I found this, they call it benevolent bacon, right? My daughter was sleeping, I think it was a couple of days ago, and she's like, because they're vegan too. I mean, they're not vegan. They do the biblical diet. She's like, oh my goodness, what is that? So she said to my son, she said, Mommy's cooking her fake bacon, right? Because they make it just like what we are accustomed to. And so at what point do we really just reach more for the fruits and vegetables? I'm telling you, if you hadn't said it the way you just said it, Chaka, and I put it in the chat, divorce ourselves from our old ideology, from what we were eating before, I probably wouldn't be rethinking. My daughter and my husband say, you just buy all this salad stuff, but you let it go to waste. And I said, I'm going to prove them wrong. I'm going to eat my salads. And then one salad, she saw me throwing it away because I only ate half of it. And I said it was too big because nobody else here is eating the salads with me. So I'm trying to change. But these type of conversations, they are a wake-up call for me. Minister Rodriguez, I know you wanted to jump back in there.
Yeah, I'm chomping at the bits here. Definitely to piggyback off Brother Chaka, the fake meats and stuff like that, the fake bacon, Impossible burgers and stuff like that, although they can be enjoyable, they're really supposed to be transition foods into. That's why you have to be careful with the term vegan, because there are a lot of unhealthy vegans. Yeah. Because like I said, beer is vegan. Captain Crunch is vegan. Oreo cookies are vegan. Like all of these things are vegan in a sense where, so you have to understand where the ideology of vegan may not necessarily mean that they're doing it for health. They just might be doing it because of their belief in protecting the planet. Right. So somebody can adopt the unhealthy vegan lifestyle.
Right.
So what I would say is that there is this vegan component, but what you should be thinking is whole food, plant-based, right? Yes. So the whole food, and we talked about this last time, where you're transitioning to a less processed way of eating style. Mm-hmm. So that means that, the fake bacon, the cheese and stuff like that, these are things like, look, to be, let's be honest. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and advocate to people just give up everything. Like you're just gonna give it up, right? Because that's not realistic. That is just totally not realistic. So what I would say is that not just setting goals for yourself, but creating habits, right? I mean, Brother Chaka could, definitely elaborate on that. But creating habits for yourself. So start out with, they have terms called meatless Monday. So have a meatless Monday. Try to transition yourself like that. Don't try to throw it all in there in one shot, you know?
Right.
And so what happened, but let me tell you this also, what I'm like Chaka was saying, like you have to, you know, reshape your way of thinking. Your what happens is that your palate changes as you begin to transition off the meat and the dairy and all that kind of stuff like that. Because when I first started drinking almond milk, I could not stand it. I could not stand the taste of it. Mm-hmm. I mean, because my body and my palate, my mind was so used to the milk fat, even the 1%, the milk fat. My body was just used to that. My palate was just used to that. So it had to transition. So it took a couple of months before it really transitioned. And now I don't think psychologically my mind even remembers what cheese or milk even tastes like. So, you know, I'm able to experiment on different forms of plant-based milk and enjoy the taste and the flavor of it without, that's disgusting. Even like tofu, I couldn't stand the taste or the texture of tofu, but as I began to transition, and I don't even eat tofu as much as I used to. But there's nothing wrong with it. People, I mean, it's a more processed form of the soybean. Like I would stick to more like edamame, the edamame bean. Like I would stick to that more than the tofu, or maybe the tempeh is more. There's a less processed form of the soybean, so I would stick to that. A lot of people, I don't want to digress, but that's it. You have to transition, and you have to start making daily habits with your meal. So as you move into a whole food plant-based diet, you transition meatless Monday, then start taking out one of the days of one of the meals that you eat. Take the meat out of one of the meals that you eat, and just start habitually changing.
Yeah. Let me get some comments in here, and I'm gonna let you come on back. Oh yeah, go on, Chaka, go on.
Okay. One of the things is that everything is all related. We compartmentalize things into different topics so that we can make sense of them, but everything is all related. So in terms of what it is that we eat, that also affects our mentals as well. So as one of the people in the chat said, that a lot of our eating is related to trauma. We do so many things to cover up so many feelings instead of dealing with those feelings. So, when we were going through whatever it is that we were going through historically, we may not have been able to have our parents get us whatever it is that we may have wanted, but they can sure put some love into some food and give that to us and have us eat as much of that food as they put down, as a way to help to massage our feelings and to make us feel better. Right. Also with various diagnoses like ADHD, they are very, very based on the foods that people eat. So they are exacerbated. You have these behaviors that are exacerbated by certain dyes that are put in the food, by certain contents. There are so many things in terms of a lot of psychological diagnoses that you can look towards treating them herbally, which means through eating. So Benjamin Franklin said, "Let thy medicine be thy food, and thy food be thy medicine." So all of these things are all together, but they seem like they're separate. So when we have some people who are misbehaving, well, not people, but children, and we want to hurry up and label them as ADHD, we should first look at some of the diets and what it is that they are putting in their body, because all of these things, all of these ingredients, they stimulate certain parts in our bodies. They do certain things. There's herbs, there are other things, and just because it doesn't say drug doesn't mean that it doesn't have an intoxicating effect. And just because it's an herb doesn't make it healthy just because it's an herb. So we have to look at those things as well. And we have to look at eating to live instead of living to eat. Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with living to eat sometimes, but we do more living. So we need to make sure that our food supports a lifestyle of longevity. We can enjoy ourselves and have a short life. We have to decide exactly how we're gonna cut that. You know.
Right. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna catch up to and put these little gems you all are dropping in the thing over here in a minute, so that we can all have them in our memory. You have you're still getting all these amens because the people are really resonating with what you both are saying. Monique Chandler Waterman, she's like, yes, Chaka. I'm sure that's a friend of yours. Um, um, Charlene, my friend, she said foods with as few ingredients as possible.
Absolutely.
Yep. Tony said most of the foods we eat in the U.S. are processed and often banned in other countries. I see these bannings all the time, but they never hit the news. Watch it. They never hit mainstream media. And for Black Americans, he says, our diet is a byproduct of slavery. We got to deal with that. We have to address that.
Absolutely.
We were given all the entrails and waste, and had to learn how to make it taste better. But unfortunately, we never let go of that unhealthy diet. Hi, Deacon Sandra. Let me tell you a little story, a quick story. I shared it over the summer, either on Black Talk or on my friend Tandra Burkett's Mental Health Mondays. I was doing some research and I came across an article. It was just released this year, so I don't know how many people are aware of Frederick Douglass's the reason why he didn't like Christmas. And he told us that during slavery, they would revel, the slave owners would revel for a whole week. And if the slaves wanted to not have to work for a whole week, they had to revel too. They would pump them up with alcohol, make them sick as a dog drinking. They would give them some of those horrible foods, and they would just stuff them with spoiled food. So our ancestors had to eat rotten pig. They had to drink until they were throwing up for an entire week in order to be off. And so some of the things that we do, we need to consider what our ancestors had to go through just so that we can get here to the 21st century. Some ugly, ugly stuff that was visited upon them. And so that goes back to, and she had to leave, Alima's comment about the whole trauma of our eating, and what Tony just said about we've been traumatized into eating some of the things that we eat, but we've not let them go. We've never had this, but in general, we've never had an opportunity to just sit and deal with all of the trauma that we've been born into. And so food becomes our refuge, right? It becomes our refuge. And we have to figure out a way to get into some of these things that you're talking about. It's too cold to go outside and walk. I love to walk, but I did find an indoor walking program. And so I do that as much as I can. I try to do the 3 times a week, at least the 3 times a week for 30 minutes. It goes so quickly, even in the house, and just small little steps towards healthier living. So let me ask you, should we see eating better, exercising a little more as critical elements to our overall health? Either of you can take that.
I mean, that answers the question itself, right? I mean, if we want to see change in our communities, we should look at eating, our health as a part of food, all of that, all of these components as a part of our overall health as a community. We got to change the way we eat. I mean, it's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We have to change the way we eat because like I said, when you look at all of the health markers that adversely affect the Black community, we lead in them. We asthma, diabetes, heart disease, you name it. We are in the top, percentile in all of these health markers that negatively adversely affect us, right? So we have to really think about it. I mean, look, when you see the movie Soul Food, we talking about trauma bonding around food, right? You see the movie Soul Food. Big Mama, she passed away, and what do they trauma bond around? The fried chicken, which was what probably killed Big Mama in the first place, right? Fried chicken and macaroni and cheese and all this bread and all of this, these carbs.
Hey, don't mess with the bread. I'm sorry.
Don't mess with the bread, right? all of these things that are causing the issues in the first place.
I know.
We know nobody lives forever, but that's the excuse that we like to have, right? We like to say, oh, you're gonna die some kind of way anyway, and no, we do not know the hour or the minute or the day that we will expire from this existence. But every opportunity that you have on this planet, right, you want to live as healthy as possible. Who wants to live to 90 and you can't walk? Who wants to live to 90 in a wheelchair? Who wants to live, and then I'm not, again, there's no guarantees to nothing, but you want to make the possibility of these things as high as possible, right? You want the highest possibility of these things. So if you want to contribute to a higher quality of life,
yes,
that's the word I'm looking for, the quality of life. If you want to improve on the quality of life that you are living, you don't have to be 50 or over 50 plus and sitting down saying you can't do nothing,
right.
You can do it. Like, I mean, I go in the gym, I do 10 clip pull-ups, and I do body weight squats, I do 100 body weights, and people, and I tell people how old I am. Like, oh wow, my father can't do that, or my grandfather can't even, and I'm saying they could be able to do it. I'm a living witness. I'm proof that you can, and you can even start today. You can start today and build your body up and get it back into shape, because the body wants to heal itself.
Yes. The body wants to heal itself. And before you weigh in, Chuck, I just wanted to share this message right here. I just put it up. I want everybody to see what Tony Lindsay said.
Oh, yeah, he breaking it down. I see him in there posting all that stuff.
And this is true. It's true. And, I had to come to terms with just that too. You were just saying about the soul food analogy. We just all cried along with their family when Big Mama died. And what we did is we went into the kitchen and we started cooking just like them. We made our comfort around the meal, whatever the day is. We can still make that comfort around a meal, but we can consider doing it in a healthier way. Chaka, is this what you were talking about before, when we create artificial environments? My youngest sister, she's also vegan. She's much better than I. She's been doing it longer than I. But we found a recipe, and she's in another state. So we Zoomed together, like you were saying. We Zoomed together as we both made this meal for our family. And I'm so happy to say over here, everybody ate it. They all loved it. But those type of things, how can we make the comfort of being together as a family around the food, small little changes? What do you suggest we do? And even with talking about what we're eating help, Chaka?
Well, I do think absolutely talking about what we're eating helps, but I think that we have to look at the context in which we are placed in. We were kidnapped and brought to this country, and this country is one of materialism. Yes. So everything is all about how much money I have, and it's not about community. So power is something that is really held in high esteem here. So to a people who have been kept away from the power, we strive to get it. So now we are, quote unquote, free and liberated. So we're chasing that bag. We're trying to get just as much as everybody else has. And we've never really dealt with the feelings, the trauma that's underneath. So we go about medicating it with food. We go about it with shop therapy. We go about doing all of these different things to mask the feelings that we have as a result of being kidnapped and killed, maimed, everything that has been done to us at this point in time. There has to be a point where we really have to sit down and talk about and express all of the feelings that we have as a result of living in this country where the rules are completely set against us, where we are given the appearance of freedom, but the practice of slavery still. And we have to find ways for us to feel empowered in this society outside of us eating and us trying to shop and even maladaptively using drugs and actually medicating our feelings. We have to deal with these feelings, or these feelings will absolutely deal with us.
Wow. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. You're almost saying we need a moratorium on most of the things that we do and hold value, that are of value to us. We need to stop. Just take a pause. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have to realize that most of the ideals that we have are not given to us. So these were inherited based on us working for other people, watching what other people have had, and feeling as if we had those same things, then that would be equity. But
Right.
in that we are running out buying these automobiles that we can't afford, just so that we can say that we're just as good as someone else who we saw who may be able to afford these things. But it makes us feel good because during the times where we were in captivity, and more captivity than we're in now, because we never really got out. But what happens is we feel like if we buy this, then now that's going to fill the void and the hole in our soul.
Right.
But it gets to a point where we realize that we can't run from these things any longer. We can't continue to do the same things that we are doing because it is making us sick on so many different levels. Us running around trying to chase this bag and trying to be uber successful also means that we're spending so much time trying to be successful that we neglect our health in the process. There are so many people who I know who've gained a significant amount of weight because they're working at their job 24/7. They don't bring their own lunch, and they are therefore subject to whatever is around them and is convenient. And most of the times what's convenient is not healthy for us. So, our health begins to suffer. So it's an entire domino effect that happens as a result. So we're saying that we want this success, but we are trading our health in order for us to get it. Once we get it, what are we going to enjoy if our health is compromised? Our health has to be paramount. Our health is absolute wealth. I mean, there's so many people who are thinking that money is going to solve the holes in their soul. But, I asked you, how much is just this part of your pinky worth? I mean, there's no amount of money that can really quantify that. I mean, our health is more valuable than anything that we have. No matter how much money we have, we cannot buy back another day on this earth. We have to incentivize ourselves so that we can put the best investment where it belongs, which is in ourselves, so that we can live a lifestyle that is going to be enjoyable for us.
Absolutely.
Wow. Absolutely. Absolutely. You sure you're not a preacher too? Are you sure? Because you were just preaching. Wasn't he just preaching?
Great. Yeah, absolutely.
Let me just, before you start, minister, I'm going to let you all know what Tony is saying over here too. He's
Break
amen
it
and
down, Tony.
everything. He said we simply need to find comfort in other things than food. We've been deprived of so much that we bond to the things that make us feel good: food, drugs, etc. He also said that food represents our freedom and escape from a society that has us trapped in stagnation and depression. He's so right. He is so right. And I just wish that it was more than the people who are listening today, and you two as panelists saying that. I wish we could actually start to transform. We're almost a year into this pandemic, right? How long are we going to still be saying we got this 20 extra pounds on? I do it
How
jokingly.
long we gonna blame COVID, right? COVID weight.
You
COVID
know,
weight.
COVID just gets the brunt of everything. But at a certain point, we have to also say, but what's my responsibility in this thing?
Absolutely.
And I like the fact that you touched on the ADHD before, Chaka, because too many of our kids are lost to these diagnoses. But at the same time, and I support bodegas because it's a part of the fabric of life in New York City. But when you go there, you're not gonna find salad stuff. You're gonna find the junky processed stuff that are not those things that are not good for us. And then, even in parenting, we have to step it up because a lot of times we will allow our kids to grab at those chips or something filled with sugar just to get them to be quiet. It's just like these devices that we also give them at too far early of an age. We do these things, so we have to just do an overhaul of how we do things. So, Minister Rodriguez, as we and Chaka, you can definitely be thinking about this, but I'm going to go to him first. As we're getting ready to wind down this segment, what would you suggest? I never like more than 3 things because people do good to do 2.
Yeah.
But if you can give us 1 or 2 things that can protect our wellness, our health, tell us where we should start, how we should start, in your opinion.
I know we've given so many suggestions, and there's so many things that I want to touch base on in terms of what was said.
You have time.
I mean, well, when we start talking about taking responsibility, right, with our families, it's also a political issue too, because the milk and the dairy, the meat industry, they're subsidized by the government. The government subsidizes these foods, right? So you can go buy a dollar burger at McDonald's. They have these powerful lobbyists that lobby, and they get these subsidies, they get these breaks. So when you look at buying a salad, you like, oh wow, I'm paying $12 for this salad, and then I can go to McDonald's and I can buy I go on a dollar menu and give me a burger, fries, and chicken nuggets for $1 and all this kind of stuff like that. So it also becomes a political issue, and we need to start putting pressure on our local officials to start talking about this health in a way that's impactful, that can be impactful politically. I think it was Ruben Diaz. He started this whole hashtag not 62.
Mm-hmm.
With the Bronx is the 62nd county, like we're the lowest county of all the state of New York, and when it comes to adverse effects of health, we're last. We're last. So we have to start not just we have to look at it as a holistic issue. Yes, personally, in our families, in our communities, talking about it in our schools, talking to the dietitians, getting with the PTA, because there have been times I work in schools, and there have been times I looked at these the food that they serve. I'm like, what is that? What is it? Like, what? Man, I would look at that and I would say, well, now would the mayor eat this? Would the mayor come sit in this cafeteria and eat this food?
Wow.
Some of the stuff that they serve, you can't. I don't care what type of ingredients, if they say they put healthy ingredients, and you look at it and it's like, no, this is not good. So I think that we have to look at it as a political issue. So one of the things that we talked about the last time, we were talking about how we shop, right? So I would tell everybody to look up what they call the Andy chart. It's
ANDY?
ANDI. It's aggregate nutrient density index, right?
I'm putting Andy chart for y'all to go and find that.
Go find it. I'm gonna tell you some of the things that you need to be putting on your. Hold on, let me just pull it up real quick. Some of the things that you need to just be adding to your diet. Just when you go out, your grocery list. I'm sorry, I just gotta pull this thing up here. Here it goes. Yeah. So kale is like on the top of the Andy chart. Kale, collards, bok choy, spinach, Brussels sprouts, arugula, cabbage, romaine lettuce. It's high up there. Broccoli, cauliflower, green peppers, artichoke, carrots, asparagus, strawberries, blueberries, tomatoes. These are things that should fill our carts.
Okay.
When we're shopping. So just
Okay.
look at the Andes chart. Now, there are some things that are low on the Andes chart. Let's say like flaxseed is lower because it doesn't have nutrients, but it also provides essential fats that is good for our heart, and it has fiber in it and stuff like that. So there are certain things that may not be high on the Andes chart that are lower, like mushrooms. It's not higher in the Andes chart, but mushrooms have all kinds of phytonutrients in it that help the body in terms of fighting off cancers, right?
Okay.
So I say that, right? So what I'm saying is that get the Andes chart, start eating your G bombs, right?
You
Greens,
did mention that. Yeah.
greens, beans, onions, mushrooms, berries, and seeds. Start eating like that. So when I construct that big salad that I posted, I think about G bombs. I start with the greens. That's my foundation. I put some kale in it, a lot of chopped kale. I might put some spinach or romaine lettuce in there, and then I just start building the salad all the way up. So then I just add some berries. I add blueberries to my I add a lot of fruit to my salad. I typically try to stay away from the salad dressing. So I use a lot of citrusy type of fruits. Like I'll use like mandarin oranges. I take some lime and I squeeze the lime juice all over the salad, all over the leaves, just to to moisturize it a little bit because it tends to get dry. I use watermelon. I put watermelon in the salad. I throw it all in there. I throw it all in there. And I would tell people, don't think in terms of having these small salads. Like we would have these small salads and we think of it as the side, right? Start making your salad the main course. So let's say, so you can't give up meat just yet, right? So you make meat the smallest portion. So this is make meat the smallest portion of your meal and increase the size of your salad. Make your salad huge. I'm talking about humongous, right? So those are two suggestions, right? So, Andes, start eating these huge, colorful salads, right? And then the third thing I would tell people is stop eating so much. We eat too much. So what does that mean, right? There's this myth, there's this idea that you have to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You don't have to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You do not. So when like the brother Chaka was talking about longevity, start intermittent fasting. And now there's ways to do it. You could do there's the 16-8, there's the 20-4, there's the OMAD diet, the 1 meal a day. Whatever you could fit into your comfort zone, start it. I mean, you could push it. Some days you can do it longer than others, but I would say stop eating so much. Stop thinking that, because this is what happens. Our bodies are in a rhythm. So when you wake up in the morning, the first thing you think you have to do is eat, right? And a lot of times it's not hunger. It's not hunger.
Habit.
It's habit. It's habit, and it's also the fact that we are addicted. Your body is asking for all of this stuff that it is craving.
Yeah.
And it's just like any other narcotic or substance that you have to get out your body. Your body starts to react in certain kind of ways, and it is telling you that you are hungry and you are not.
Right.
You are not really hungry. You're just craving all of these these poisons that they put inside the food. Poisons, and I'm gonna say it like that. It's poison. It's poison. So that's how I would try to stop eating so much. let me
try to tell a black person to stop eating. No, we do.
So
you're telling us stop eating so much. You're absolutely right. I think I shared last time that I intermittent fast. I've been intermittent fasting since 2019. Love it. And I do the variety. I more or less do the 16-8. And I was telling my son of that because I use the apps. I don't need the apps, but I use them. They're just like an accountability. I use Zero for anybody who's interested in getting on the intermittent fasting boat, because it's really important. I use Life and 0. But so the other day I closed my window. You close your window after for 8 hours. I eat over an 8 hour period and I fast over a 16-hour period. Of course, half of that is while you're sleeping. So it's really not hard to change
Nah.
your way of doing. I actually like the 1 meal a day, OMAD. And if you're looking to do it to lose weight, the OMAD is the quickest way to do that. Don't jump into that. This is a lifestyle. I can't imagine
Yeah,
doing the 3 meal a day thing
yeah,
again. I
yeah,
just can't.
yeah.
I was a breakfast person. I mean, but this way, guys, everybody who's listening, hi Leslie. She said, "Am I late?" But you here though. You're here, and we're happy to have you. Um, I was a breakfast person, so I had to be very intentional. If you're gonna change your lifestyle, everybody, you have to be very intentional. Don't just say, "I need to lose 10 pounds." Say I really think it has to be, and Chaka will let you jump in here after I just share this a little bit. I think it has to be tied to your desire to be your healthiest self, both physically and mentally. You really have to desire that, and then start thinking about what can I do that's different. I didn't like being a slave. I'm gonna be honest with you, being a slave to breakfast. But so what happens is, not only is that my favorite meal, I'm also believing that it has to be the grits every day, because I'm a Southern girl. Don't mess with my grits, right? So now I use my grits as a treat for me. But guess what? I still do it during my intermittent fasting eating window.
Hmm.
And that can end if I'm eating the day I'm eating grits, that's my OMAD. Because grits are just heavy. They're just heavy. They're gonna sit there. So you gotta be very intentional and deliberate about the way you eat. I close my window at 5:30 today. So that means that if I'm doing the 16-8, I can eat around 10. But guess what? I typically don't eat before 12:30 anymore. So I said to my son yesterday, I said, this thing tells me I can eat at 10:20. I know I can because I can do what I want to. But the reality is, I didn't eat until 12:20 because I like eating in the afternoon now. And so go on, go
Yeah,
on.
let me just so I'm gonna put something in there for people who are thinking about doing it. Of course, when you start, you're gonna feel a little off. You definitely are because your body is changing. So
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna feel less energetic. You're gonna be a little aggravated. You might be a little snappy. Because you're changing. You're not eating as much. Like we said, these comfort foods. It makes us feel better. So you're gonna feel it in the beginning, but give it a few days. You give it a few days. And you'll start to see the changes and the benefit. Now, the other thing is this, right? When you start changing your diet, you have to understand that when you're intermittent fasting, some people have done the intermittent fasting thing and they still gain weight, right? Because they didn't understand calories in, calories out. They didn't understand caloric intake, right? You can fast all you want. When you start
Still
eating,
eating too much.
if you overeat your calorie intake and you don't understand how many calories you need to take in for your body, along with how much energy you need to be expending, you're going to gain weight. And one size don't fit all, right? One size. So a 2,000 calorie diet for me would not, the standard American 2,000 calories, it would not fit for me. It would not fit for me. It doesn't fit my activity level, how much I work out, my body type. It doesn't fit. So you have to really understand it. So when you say being intentional, that's what it is. Being intentional, understanding your body type, understanding what your caloric intake should be,
Yeah.
and all of those types of things. So that's very, very, very important.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that too, because like I said, if I do the grits, grits are heavy. You can't eat grits at noon and then go and turn around and eat at six.
No.
But your body has to acclimate to a new way of being.
So
Your,
yeah.
go on.
No, I'm sorry. I just got all one before because I'm gonna let I love to hear this brother talk. So I'm gonna let him zoom. But so one of the things that I would tell people to do, right, is I do this every morning. Like even before I have a bowl of oatmeal, any hot food, I start off with life-giving foods. So if before I eat anything hot, I'm have my salad. If I'm gonna eat rice and beans, which is a hot meal, I typically will have the live foods. So I don't eat anything until I have a cup of blueberries, handful of strawberries, orange, a banana. I have these life-giving foods. Now, what does that do? And it may not even be your intentive thought. It curbs your appetite.
Mm-hmm.
It curbs your appetite. So then anything about you gonna have your grits, okay, you're gonna have your grits. But you know what? After you done ate those fruits and those vegetables or whatever combination that you want to have, now you're gonna get ready to have your grits. You're like, I don't even want to eat, or I don't even want to eat all these grits. So you won't even have as much grits as you would normally have for your old man, because you already done filled up on the fruits and vegetables. So that's another suggestion that I would give everybody.
Absolutely. I think that's great.
And the water, and of course, hydrate yourself.
Water, right.
Go ahead, brother Chaka.
It leads to advice.
Yeah. Take it home, brother.
Go on, Chaka.
Dunk it, brother. I threw you alley-oop.
Well, thank you, brother. Well, you accused me of preaching earlier, so I think you might have excited that preaching bone.
All right, go for it.
I think that what we have to do is we have to be very intentional about how we see ourselves. We are in a society where society has continued to tell us that we're nothing, we're never going to be anything, just so that we can be kept down. But if we go to the Bible says that we are peculiar people. It speaks about us being the head and not the tail. So we have to look at ourselves with reverence. We have to look at ourselves and see the beauty of God. None of us were put here for no reason at all. We were put here for a specific reason. And it also says inside the word that the body is the temple of God. Right. If we thought about that literally, what else are we putting in this temple with God? Are we putting potato chips and bacon and, does that go with God? So we really have to look at exactly how those things come together. We have to look at ourselves and see our importance and see where we are coming from, not just where we are. The second thing is that we have to have a proper place to deposit our feelings. We have been through so much trauma as a people, let alone all of the individual traumas that we've had. And food can serve as a sense of comfort and a sense of protection and a buffer. So, in cases of people who have had sexual abuse, they may unintentionally eat to build themselves up because they felt like something in their looks made them subject to a perpetrator. So psychologically, they feel if I can eat more, then I can make myself less attractive to this perpetrator. So there's so many different things. So we have to look at appropriate places to put our feelings. We have to not be afraid to go to regular therapy if need be. But if we can't get to regular therapy, or we have to build ourselves up to that, let's deposit our feelings into the arts. Let's deposit those feelings into exercise. Let's deposit those feelings into mindfulness. Do something to get those feelings out of here into the world. The world is a lot bigger and can handle all of the things that are in here. If we continue to blow air into a balloon, at some point that balloon pops. So we have to empty our storage so that we can have some more time to be available to all of the different problems that life is going to throw at us anyway. Yes. Okay. Yes. And the third and final thing is that we have to see that health is the most important thing that we have at this point in time. So regardless as to money or anything else, we have to see that our health is our wealth. The longer we can live, the more quality of life we can have with our family and friends. And regardless as to what skills we don't have, the longer we live, the more time we have to deposit those skills. If we shorten our lives with eating short-term food, we can't expect a long-term life from short-term food.
That's right.
So we really have to be very intentional in terms of the foods that we're eating. And while we're making that transition, we have to divorce ourselves from our old mentality, our old food, so that we don't expect the same taste out of this new product. We have to look at this product and see it for the beauty that's in it, period. I mean, I do a whole lot of different changing of my diets and see different things. There was a point where I used to eat so much sugar, and me eating other things, it wasn't a big deal for me to have something saturated with sugar. But it's only until I started to minimize my relationship with sugar and other things that I started to be able to taste like the sweet in a peanut, which I was never able to do. So, in us couching all of these foods, these negative foods, we are not getting an opportunity to enjoy the beauty of the food that God has created. So, if we are not able to taste the sweet of a peanut, maybe that's something that we can start on a small level to take steps toward doing. But there's so many other foods that God has created for us that are amazing, but we never get to them because we have all of these other foods that are laden with chemicals that stop us from our natural desire to eat off of the tree which God made.
Wow.
Swinging. He's swinging. He's swinging. Absolutely.
Wow. This is, I mean, wow. Thank you. I mean, I think, look, you have rendered me almost speechless. All I can say is wow. No, but this has been so rich. This has been so rich, so necessary. And I think it's early enough in this new year that people are getting it. They can get it. They can begin to make small changes. I don't feel that anything that either of you have shared with us tonight is impossible for us to do. I totally get the connection with the word, Chaka, because if we say that, if the word says that the body is the temple of the Lord, yes, like you said, does the Lord, do we allow the Lord where he dwells to dwell also with the stuff that's killing us?
Right.
And I think we have to start looking at it like that. If we're too sedentary, this year has been one that has made us almost, has rendered our ability to move about freely almost non-existent. But we have to still be intentional, as you just said, about it. I saw a colleague who is in the midst of COVID, and they were on their 7th day, and they were just exercising. They're in quarantine in their home from their family, but they're exercising, doing the push-ups, jumping rope and stuff like that. So they're attacking it mentally and physically, and just with the intention of overcoming it and beating it. So I think a lot of it does have to do with us having the body meet the mind. And you two, I mean, if we could do this every day, this would be great, because there's no shortage of need within our community, and we do need each other. We need each other, and that's not just a catchphrase. I need you to survive. We need each other so that we can be the best Black community that there is. And so I'm totally grateful for both of you being here with me tonight. I'm going to just tee up next week's show, but then I'm going to ask you both to consider being a guest for my February 24th show, because that's my special edition Black History Month show. But one requirement is that if you have not already, you have to watch Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
Watched it already, yeah.
Watched it? Okay.
Yeah.
Because you haven't watched it yet, Chaka?
I have watched it.
Okay, so we are all good. We have to examine, and what we're going to do on that day is examine the relationship between Levy and Toledo in regards to the so-called Black on Black crime. It's not. That's why I've always said that's a misnomer. That's a misnomer, because we have not considered the intergenerational trauma. And so I really want to have a conversation. We will probably move to the Zoom platform so we can invite all of the people who come out on this platform to come into the conversation with us. Um, I am grieved with the sister who on the 18th was coming home from work, went into the liquor store to buy a bottle of wine to go home to her child, and was accosted and bitten in her face and beaten up by Black men. That bothers me. It hurts me. And then to find that overnight a sister was groped by a Black man, and she went and told her paramour, and he came back out looking for him. They got into an argument, and then the guy shoots her dead, also in Harlem. So I feel like there is an attack on Black women, and it's coming from within. So we have this external threat with law enforcement that we have to fight on a daily basis, but then we also have to fight internally. So I would love to have this conversation. I will bring this back up again on the 24th. Sadly, I believe other things are going to happen between now and the 24th. But if you two would agree to be two of my guests, we're going to have as many. I did an open call for guests today, and I just really want us to look at it from the Levy and Toledo perspective. If you guys remember, you know what that's all about. Would love to have you two back.
And I'll definitely have a unique perspective on the Black on Black violence, as well as Black men attacking Black women and stuff. I definitely will have a unique perspective on it.
Excellent. We look forward to it, and I'm inviting you, the viewers here, come on in on the 24th. We're going to move to Zoom so that as many people as want to participate in our special program on the 24th can participate. Or is it the 23rd? I'll get the date. It's a Tuesday at 7 p.m. everybody. But next week's show, I'm looking forward to it, and I hope he is still looking forward to being here with me. I'm gonna bring myself to the front so that you all can see this package. But guys, don't go. Let me see. Look, this right here.
Beautiful.
Black Heritage Day 4, which means that there are 3 prior. And Dr. Carl Mack will be my guest next week. We're going to go through his calendar. He has combed through and found some unique Blacks that we rarely know about, get to hear about. And we're going to just go through it. It is a calendar with a day for every month of the year. And this is such a great resource for us all. Look, just put it on your desk and flip the day, and you learn something 365 days of the year about our people that you can now pass on to your children, their children, but also for yourself. I am honored to have him agree. I've been trying to get him on one of these for the longest, but he was the perfect time is when he comes out with this, and I hope he'll have some to sell. But even if he doesn't, we're going to talk about it. So I invite everybody to come back next week to hear from Dr. Carl Mack on this platform, and just keep coming, people. And I thank you all so much. She said, "You selling it anywhere?" I'm not selling it. I'm not selling it. He's selling it. But I will get you in contact with him. If there's anyone who wants to purchase it and you cannot be here next week, I'm going to see if he'll let me put the link in. I'm sure he will, because the purpose is to sell them. But it's incredible. It's incredible. And I got you, Craig. Craig, are you talking about for the show? We want we want Craig Vision. We want you on that show on the 24th too. So unless you're talking about tagging you for this resource, whatever the case may be, both of you have it. So thank you all for spending an hour and 18 minutes with me and my 2 guests, Chaka Phaire and Minister Yoram Rodriguez. I am so grateful to both of you. Looking forward to seeing you both again on the 24th, and as often as God allows us to come together to try to build up our people, both physically and mentally. I got you, Tony. I got all of y'all. Look, ladies, y'all better start raising your hands. The men are going to dominate. I can't be the only woman on the platform. But God bless you all, and thank you, guys. I'll see you in the green room. Don't go away. Good night, everyone.
All right.